It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. I'm Candace Gish. I'm the founder of this program, and I'm just so excited when I have the amazing opportunity to interview women out there. And today I'm excited because I had the great opportunity to interview this amazing author and speaker, Yvonne Heath. And our last program, unfortunately, did not record properly. So it's taken us a few months here, well, quite a few months, to get back together and re-record a program and share it with all of you. So I'm beyond excited, and I can't wait to chat with her today. So Yvonne, welcome to the Divas That Care.
Thank you so much, Candace. And I always say, we've got to roll with the glitches, right? They happen in life.
They definitely do that. Technology is a crazy thing. So I'm so excited, as I was saying, to have you back on the program. And would you mind just spending a few minutes here sharing a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. And, you know, I truly believe that obviously I was meant to share my message now, and we've never needed my message more than now. And so when we recorded before, it was pre-pandemic, so that's just so interesting. I was a nurse for 27 years, worked in 10 different hospitals, and slowly but surely realized that we are a society that is very ill-prepared for grief and life's challenges, and we tend to suffer silently, in silos of silence and isolation, and we create our own excessive suffering by not talking about planning and preparing before grief and life's challenges arise. And so I started to become very anxious in my career, and I started asking other healthcare professionals, like, are we well prepared for grief personally and professionally? And the answer was hands down, oh my God, no, we're terrible at it. And so I started to say, like, so then who is helping community members prepare for grief and how to navigate through? And certainly the prepare before aspect was just non-existent. And so I took a leap of faith. I left my nursing career to become a change maker. And it's been an extraordinary journey. And one of the greatest parts of this new journey is connecting with people like you, Candace. Divas That Care, creating global movements to create positive social change, because that takes many voices, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And you know what? Oh, I love what you are doing, because this is exactly what we need. And I think a lot of people are going through so many things right now. And to hear your words, I think, is very impactful and very powerful.
Yes, and it's so interesting because I think we weren't even prepared for, and we didn't understand regular grief, right? Like people think that grief is just something we experience when someone dies. And what part of my message is, what is grief? Let's talk about grief. And I say, grief is our mental, physical, and emotional reactions to loss, transitions, and change. I mean, you experience grief in divorce, diagnosis, job loss, mental health issues, in anything that makes your heart ache. So we don't even know how to navigate it, and we don't prepare for grief, regular life happenings before. And now we are experiencing global grief. It's like this umbrella of global grief, because that is what this pandemic has brought. Loss, transitions, change, uncertainty. There are multi-layers of grief, and we truly need to connect in meaningful ways and truly understand how we can navigate through this together.
I love that. And isn't that so true? And everyone has been affected. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. You've been affected. Children have been affected.
Absolutely.
Just so many people. And And it's so important because you're right. It's not just about death. It's about that whole gamma of our lives. Everything has changed. You know, even within our household, we've had a lot of change. And I was a homeschool mom, so that wasn't even the least of my changes.
Right. Yes. Well, and something so significant and important, and literally, like you said, Candace, this is affecting literally every person in the world. I mean, how extraordinary. And we are all in the same storm, but we are not in the same boat, right? So
Yeah.
Like you said, okay, well, you homeschooled your children. So that piece of, oh my gosh, do I send my kids to school? Do I not? Oh my gosh, they've been home. I'm going crazy. That wasn't a part of your journey. And for some people, it was the most challenging part. For others, they lost their jobs. In my home, I mean, I certainly, a lot of my in-person keynote presentations were canceled, but many pivoted to online. But my husband's a paramedic, and he's part of the emergency response team of Ontario, provincial. And so he certainly has job security, although it's been that much more challenging to send your loved one into the red zone of COVID when everyone else is running the other way. That brings, mental and emotional challenges. And so we are all in this storm together. And truly, when we can get to that place of non-judgment and truly learning, my whole in our Love Your Life to Death, sort of like the mothership. And then we created this, our movement, the I Just Showed Up movement, which teaches people how to just show up for themselves and others so they are empowered and resilient when grief arrives. And now more than ever, we truly need to learn how to just show up for ourselves and just show up for each other in creative ways, in different ways. But no, we can still really make a difference, right?
Well, and we're seeing so much of that, aren't we? We're seeing people really step out of their comfort zones and become those change makers. They're walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And I'm just so inspired by so many individuals out there nowadays. They've realized that there's a lot of change going on, and they want to be the ones that are helping others through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what, I encourage everyone, there's sort of like two sides. When you are feeling strong, when you are feeling well supported and you feel like you can shine your light so that others in darkness can see. And when you are struggling, reach out and say, you know what, bit of help here. I'm having a hard time right now.
Yes.
And that's okay too, right? That's okay too. We need to be able to do both, right? Isn't that so important to teach by example?
I think so. And one of the things I've really noticed too is that it's almost like an awakening. We're more aware, we're more everything as a global community of so many issues that have been taking place. And I think now is the time to, as a lot of people are doing, they're addressing a lot of things. They're figuring things out, because this seems to be the time to do that. And it's shaken everybody up in so many ways that, it's almost, some days it's almost overwhelming, but I think it's something that's been needed.
I could not agree more. This tremendous pause in the way things were. When I hear people saying, I just want things to go back to normal, the way they were. And, I'd say, I think we need to stop and really think about that, because that is not what I choose. That is not what I'm hoping for. I'm going to hold out for something much better. Because here's the honest truth. All of the many challenges in our global challenges, local, national, international challenges did not happen just when the pandemic started. Climate crisis, opioid crisis, racism, that didn't all start with the pandemic. This excessive busyness, mental health issues, being ill-prepared for life, grief, and death, that was the way we lived before. We were on this treadmill, and everyone talking about, oh, I'm so busy. That's all everybody talked about. And when I ask people, okay, you're busy, are you happy? And oh my gosh, they look at me like I asked them the weirdest question in the world. They're like, well, I don't have time to think about that. And I think, well, that's sad, actually. And what can you do to change that? So wouldn't it be wonderful if we took this tremendous pause in the way things were to create something better?
Oh, yeah. I agree with that completely. I love your words, and it just just brings a smile to my face because I'm thinking, this is it. This is what we needed to talk about today. And one of the things I want to share with our amazing listeners out there is that Yvonne's got so many videos out there. She's done TED Talks. You spoke on so many different stages, and your videos are on your website. And I really want to encourage our listeners to check that out because you've got to see some of the things that she's done and what she's spoken about. And I think it's really powerful.
Well, thank you so much for that, Candace. And, again, as I said, one of the greatest parts of this new journey have been meeting beautiful global change makers. And I have free resources on my website. I have my TED Talk. I created an online program called Get Ready for Grief that and it's all about living life to the fullest so that people have something to go back to, right? Go back to when it arrives again. Well, I know a lot of people said, oh, did you create that because of the pandemic? I said, it took me a year to create that. It was before the pandemic. It just so happened to be launched now. But here's a super fun, wonderful story for anyone who happens to know who Patch Adams is. Have you heard of Patch? Yes, of course. So Patch Adams. Yeah. Right? The movie in 1998 it starred Robin Williams, who lives in my heart forever. And Patch Adams is this beautiful doctor who does clowning around the world and brings joy to people who are suffering the most in life, grief, and death. And on my Rogers TV show, which I'm now doing by Skype because I can't do in person, I just interviewed Patch Adams. And it was just like this. Yes. It was just like this beautiful moment in my life because Patch is the quintessential person who knows how to just show up, and he still does clowning around the world. And he created a documentary called Clown Vets, where he brought suicidal vets down to Guatemala to clown for other people and help them reconnect with their hearts. So extraordinary. So,
that is so
powerful. There is, oh my goodness. So there's always so much hope for something more and something better. We are capable of so much more. And truly my greatest message right now also, besides the fact that we have to just show up for ourselves first, if we want to be able to just show up for others, we have to accept that grief and joy coexist. Right? Everyone kind of waits for all the bad stuff to be done with so we can get to the joy, to the happiness. It really doesn't work like that. It's kind of more of a roller coaster, right? And so we have to acknowledge and allow the grief and let in the moments of joy and happiness along the way. Wouldn't that be so much better? Because I know a lot of people, it's like, I'll be happy when this pandemic is over. Well, let's just be honest. I don't think it's going to be, a certain date.
I don't know.
The pandemic's over and we're all happy now. Everything's great. I mean, after the pandemic is declared over, somebody sneezes, everyone's going to be like running for the hills, right? Like, oh my gosh, it's not going to work that way. So we have to acknowledge and allow our grief, develop coping skills and strategies, and be intentional about filling our happiness bucket. Be intentional about being excessively kind to ourselves and to each other in this time. Wouldn't it be wonderful to really develop those skills, being excessively kind and filling our happiness bucket so that we can show others, right? Be an example. We can't make other people happy, but we can be an example of how you can. This is how I'm filling my happiness bucket, right? Wouldn't that be
love
so
everything
powerful?
that you've been talking about. It's so powerful. I want to kind of go back. It was funny when you said live life to the fullest each and every day. I had actually wrote that in my high school, when you do your high school quotes, like over 20 years ago. And I laughed because I do. I always live my life to the fullest each and every day because I think you never know how quickly it could be gone.
Absolutely.
So I always live that way. And, one of the things I've always taught my children is the happiness bucket, and making sure that we're always putting things into that. And, how do we want to treat others? And, we want to make sure that it's always full, and we want to fill up everybody else's around us. And so I just love those quotes. So I just wanted to share that with you, because it's like we have to live that example. If we're not going to be the example, how are others going to learn?
Absolutely. And I love that you learned that in high school. That's pretty evolved of you. I was kind of all over the place in high school. So good for you, because truly that is what we can do. Like, so many people want to fix other people's problems, right? So many people want to make someone else happy. So here's the problem. That's why they don't just show up for someone who is grieving, someone died, someone has an addiction, a divorce, whatever, because they feel that they are not qualified to fix it. Guess what, everyone? I will let you off the hook. It is not your job to fix it. It is not your job to make anybody else happy. But you can love and support them along the way. That does not require a PhD. And the very best version of yourself, your happy, fulfilled, filling your own happiness self, is your greatest gift to the world. So imagine if everyone focused on filling their happiness bucket, developing coping skills and strategies, saying, okay, what about grief scares me? What do I understand? What don't I understand? What do I believe about life and death? Work on you to be the very best version of you. And that is how we could all be able to just show up for each other, right?
Oh, I love that. And you've got this amazing bracelet that people can purchase on your website. And I love that, because it's so important in having that reminder. And I wanted to share with you like a quote somebody had told me once, is to be 1% better every day. So you don't have to feel like you're always doing more and more, but just 1% better. Try to do 1% better, whatever it is in your life.
Yes, I love that. And the bracelet you're talking about, it says #I just showed up, and it comes with a little card, and it says the I just showed up bracelet. And what it is, it says, where's a reminder to just show up for yourself first, be the best version of you. Where, because you just showed up for someone, and you can make a difference and give to someone else if they just showed up for you, to say thanks. And I will say to any of your listeners, if they want to email me and say, hey, I heard your message, and I'm going to this is how I just showed up for myself, and this is how I just showed up for someone else, and I'll send you a bracelet. How's that?
I think that's pretty extraordinary. I think that is wonderful. So all of our listeners, you better go and do that.
Yes, I just sent a few to Australia, and it was just so fun. I was like, I love knowing that my bracelets because, here's the most powerful story I heard about this bracelet. And a friend of mine, her cousin's son died by suicide. Now, when it comes to excruciating grief, I think we'd all agree that is just, your heart is broken into a million pieces. And my friend said, I immediately called her, and I had no words. I had no words of wisdom. I was just sat on the phone with her, and she said, I was wearing my bracelet, and of course, because what I hear more than anything is people say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. So we avoid because we're afraid to do or say the wrong thing. And I just say, when you lead with your heart and just show up, it's never wrong. And so she said she called. Yes. She said, yep, all I have to do is just show up. I don't have to fix this. And she called her cousin, and all she did was cry on the phone, and then her cousin spoke to her for 20 minutes. Now, isn't that a gift?
Wow.
Right? I will never forget that story, because she said, I may not have done that before, because, you think, oh my gosh, what are the brilliant words I need to say? And it's like, no, there's nothing to say in there except just love that person. Just say, you're not alone, I'm here. You're not alone, I'm here. Right? And I
love that. Oh.
Yes. Well, and for people who, are saying, well, I don't want to talk to them. You know what else? And there's always something. I say it's always better to do or say something than to do or say nothing. If you don't want to talk to them because you don't feel, you're just too uncomfortable right now, and I'll train that out of you, but go cut their grass, walk the dog. When my son went down a very dangerous road of drugs and addiction, and people were avoiding me because they didn't know what to do or say, and I felt so broken and alone, one person went to my house and put a little pot of daffodils on my front porch. And you know what? It is 9 years, 10 years later, and I still get choked up thinking of those daffodils because it meant so much to me. I even mentioned it in my TED Talk, and it changed it. I just felt so supported. So anyone can just show up.
I love that. And one of the things that I'm going to do, Yvonne, is that I'm going to order a whole bunch of those and start giving them out, because I think that that's a powerful statement. It's a powerful thing to show people, and I want to support you in that.
Thank you so much. See, you just showed up for me. You have just made my day.
I just showed up.
You just showed up for me. See how that works?
I love
it.
And I think it's so wonderful. Oh, well, it's my pleasure. And you know what? That's what the Divas That Care is all about, is that we want to support one another. We want to do as much as we can. And I love what you're doing with that small statement, because you giving that out to somebody could just change so much in their life. And I'm very much about paying it forward. And I think that would be a great way to do it.
Well, I just love that. And, you know, it's funny because here's what my favorite story from Australia is, that I had given an I Just Showed Up presentation to some camp counselors, about 100 camp counselors, 3 years ago. And the other day I got a message. Hi, this is so-and-so. You know, my boyfriend heard your message 3 years ago. We live in Australia, and he was so taken with the I Just Showed Up message, he's had his bracelet on ever since. And she said, and I'm not kidding you when I say he does not take it off. and she said, but it just snapped, and he's devastated. Is there any chance you would send them to Australia? So I just sent her 5, and she said she just got them. I said, just show me a picture of you wearing your bracelet when you get them. And she was over the moon. And this was a young man in his early 20s. And I actually have shared my I Just Showed Up message and teaching children how to just show up. And I say, I have, my cousin has triplets, and I speak to them a lot. When they were 5, I gave them I Just Showed Up bracelets. And I said, tell me how you just showed up for people. And one of them said, I sat with my mom when my papa died, and I let her cry. Another one said, my friend was sad because her puppy died, so I sat with her. Another one said that there was a new girl in school, so I went and I said hello to her, and I talked to her. They get it. They just showed up.
They get it. And you know what? What a great thing to do with children, because this is the time when to really do that. And I am a big firm believer in that. You know, if you can empower the youth of today, they're going to do extraordinary things tomorrow. And yes, I love that. And we've had quite a few of our youth on our program, and we actually have a youth host now. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing with his bracelets is that I'm going to be giving them to all of the youth that have been on our program, because I think that's a very strong thing also.
I so love that. And imagine if our children grew up knowing, and the I Just Showed Up, just show up for yourself first. What I teach people is you have value and you matter, and there's only one criteria. And when I've spoken to high school kids and they start telling me all their credentials, right? And they say, well, that's all very lovely, but you have value and you matter, and there's only one criteria, because you exist. There's regardless of age, race, culture, sexual orientation, ability, disability, economic situation, you have value because you exist. And you get to just show up for yourself first. That is not a selfish thing to do. It is critical, because if you don't, you will not be able to just show up for others, right? You cannot, because you will eventually burn out mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. And the other thing is, you know, the person that's telling you, oh, you need to just show up for yourself, and they're all, you know, haggard and dragging themselves around, like, oh, really? Because you don't seem to just show up for yourself first, right? Women, I have to say, little tough love. Women can be sort of notorious for that. I do everything for everybody, and I'm, you know.
Yes.
And I say, well, what can you do to change that? Because that is not sustainable, and you don't want to duplicate that. You don't want your children and everyone around you to be that person dragging themselves around and doing everything for everybody, right? So what can we do to change that? Let's all be the very best version of ourselves. And certainly women and parents, we need to be that example. I work out and I teach my children, this is your time and our time, and it's important for me to take care of myself, and let's do your stuff. You know, it's not all everything about them. Oh, I do everything for my children and I don't have time for myself. Well, what can you do to change that? That's right.
Oh, I love that advice. I love it. Well, Yvonne, we're coming to the close of our program today, but I wanted to ask you if you will come back on our program again and share more with us soon.
Candace, I would be absolutely delighted. Just don't take too long, because I'm only doing this for the next 50 years or so.
Love it. I love it, girl. I had so much fun. Is there any
Me
last
too.
minute tips, things that you want to share with our listeners today?
I want to share with everyone the greatest message that there is please remember, in this pandemic, excessive kindness, starting with yourself. Just show up for yourself first. And when you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and you can't fix it, the magic answer is always just show up.
Well, Yvonne, thank you so much for being my amazing guest today. It was a pleasure chatting with you and learning from you.
Thank you so much, Candace, and thank you for everything that you do to create positive social change.
Thank you so much. You know what? I've had a blast. For all of our listeners, this was extraordinary. I have, as I said, I'm going to be purchasing a whole bunch of I Just Showed Up bracelets, and I hope that you do too, because I think these are great things to pass on to your friends and family. Also, I want to just mention that you check out Yvonne's book. She's got an amazing book called Love Your Life, and it is available on her website or at Amazon. I believe I saw it there also. And we did post it on our Divas That Care bookstore too. So make sure that you check those out. Yvonne, as I said, I had a fantastic time. I want to say thank you to all of our listeners. And, you know, make sure that you pass this on to your friends and family. I think this program is very important, and especially what's going on today. I think people need to listen to this show. Make sure that you pass it on, as I was saying, and do something kind for somebody out there today. All right, everyone. So until next time, have a fantastic day.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.